Okay, guys, we are live. So for those listening at home, welcome to the Live from the Sword Coast podcast. My name is Kevin Madison, and I will be your friendly dungeon master this evening. Tonight, we are kicking off what is soon to be an epic campaign playing Mongoose Publishing's second edition Traveler role-playing game, which will be us making our way through the sandbox style campaign published by Mongoose as well, called the Pirates of Drinax. I don't have a print version of that at the time of recording, but that should be out sometime this month, so I look forward to having that. Now, this is our first session, so if you missed the previous two installments, we did do 2 sessions worth of character creation, and those are up on the channel, so you're welcome to go through those if you want to see how we came to create the 2 characters who will be starring in this campaign. And speaking of the stars of our campaign, let's do some introductions. So, starting with who logged on first here, Steve O. Why don't you tell us who you are and who you're playing?
Looking forward to playing Gavros Miltiades, one of the crew of the Belfi, coming up, and yeah, should be fun.
Isn't it Miltiades Gavros?
I was doing it in alphabetical order.
Oh, you're doing okay. Like Japanese style. Yes, I just want to make sure I didn't record it incorrectly. Okay, so tell us a little bit about Commander Miltiades.
Commander Miltiades, well, he started off life with dreams of being a doctor, but he got thrown out of university pretty early on after growing up in a fairly humble home. Although he was always relatively good at school, although not necessarily that bright. But turned out he was good at other things. He joined the military, actually, and ended up proceeding pretty far through the career path in the Navy, and ended up becoming a commander, although also had some extracurricular activities, and then finally was released from his services in the Navy, but not without some booty to show for it.
Yeah, booty, hello. Okay, so that is Commander Gavros.
That's a brief intro to Gavros.
Yeah. Jeffrey, why don't you tell us who you are and who you're playing?
I'm Jeffrey, and I am playing Charles Williams. And he is, he's originally from a water planet. And he wanted to join the military and go adventuring, and on his very first scouting mission, he got lost in space. And from there, he was picked up by some merchants, and he had a bit of a career as a merchant trader, as a marine for them. And then some things went horribly wrong, and he ended up going bankrupt and being sort of maybe shamed out of the Merchant Corp or something, I don't know. And then after that, he joined up with a pirate crew and spent a few years with them. And he's just recently left them to try and make his own fortune.
Perfect. So yeah, so we have Charles and Commander Gavros. So Charles, you were the one who inherited, or not inherited, but you acquired the ship that you guys are currently piloting. Now, you'll have to forgive me, both Jeff and Steve and those listening at home, but I unfortunately ran short of time today and didn't get some of the images uploaded to Roll20 that I was hoping to. So I don't have. I'm going to be holding up some illustrations in the course of the session tonight. But between now and the next session, I will upload these things. So this dandy-looking ship is what's known as a far trader, and something very much looking like this is what our intrepid crew pilots, and they have called their far trader the Belfi. And the Belfi, unfortunately, has some like all fine vessels. It has some personality quirks. Is maybe a tactful way of putting it. Horrible, endemic problems might be a less charitable way of putting it. But in addition to, I guess what I was going to ask is, who is actually the captain of the Belfi? So someone's going to be referred to as captain here. I'm not really fussed whether it's Commander Gavros or whether it's Captain Williams.
Well, were you ending up piloting the ship or not, Steve? I can't remember.
Well, I mean, I've got a pretty good piloting score. Unless we get somebody with a better piloting score. I mean, it's your ship though, so you should be the captain.
Yeah, sure.
But captain doesn't have to be the pilot.
No, not
I've
at
also
all.
got some. Yeah.
Sure, I can be the captain.
And I've also got the astrogation. So, I mean, there's no reason why we can't do both of those. I mean, I can do the astrogation and the piloting until we get somebody better. And then you can do the mechanic stuff and the ship's ops and the gunnery.
Yep, sounds good to me.
Okay. Well, gunnery is putting the cart before the horse a little bit, in the sense that
we don't have any guns
on the ship first.
Not yet.
The Belfi is a toothless hound. So in addition to you two guys, there are two other crew members on board the Belfi. One of those is a Vargur, and I'll show you what a Vargur looks like. Oh, there we go. So Vargur are a race of kind of like, you might recognize that sort of like jackal men. Let's get the thing to, there we go. Actually, in the core, in the core rulebook, there's a picture of the Vargur at about like page 30-ish or so, or a little further, 51. So here is a picture of the Vargur from the core rulebook. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus. Come on, camera. There we go. There we go. There he is. Come on. Rawr. So Vargur are sort of have one specific association with them, and that is that they are raiders. The Vargur Corsairs were some of the first sort of explorers and Vargur who went out from their realm of space, and as a result, everyone sort of I shouldn't say everyone, but I mean the first association that people most likely make with Vargur is that they're raiders and criminals and pirates. Harv is none of those things, at least not right now. Harv is what's known in Vargur society as a scrounger. And a scrounger is kind of like the guy who obtains things for you. Harv is really just the guy that you use to find the stuff you need in port or whatever. Harv, because neither of you guys are particularly good with those types of things. You're not great with streetwise. You're not great with barter. You're not great with what's the other one you need? Trade, I think. You're sort of relying on Harv as the person who helps you sell the ship that you've got. The other person you have on board is an engineer, someone you've hired just to help out. Jeff, you're pretty awesome as an engineer, but if you guys are dealing with the astrogation and piloting, it's never a bad thing to have someone else on board. Plus, she's not unhelpful in a fight as well too. And her name is Sarala Das. Sarala is an Indian descended woman who has a small pet that kind of looks like a cross between like a canary and a gecko. And she carries the thing around on her as a pet. And she's with you as long as you keep paying her salary. I have a picture or an actress in mind for what Sarala looks like. Have either of you guys seen the HBO series The Night Of? No.
Doesn't sound familiar.
You know what? Let me. Just gonna share screens here. I'm on a device I can. Okay. Find anything I want. Okay, let's see if I can find it. Okay. If you haven't seen The Night Of, it is actually a pretty good series. It's short. like I think 8-episode series. It's basically like imagine like a high production value episode of Law and Order.
Oh, okay.
Okay, where is she? Where is she? There she is. Okay, let me just share screens here, guys, and I'll show you who I'm talking about. Application. So here we go. This is who I'm thinking of. I can't remember what her.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. See, I've seen the Jeerling train movie with.
Oh right, yeah, she was in that too. She was also in an episode of Doctor Who.
Oh yeah, that's right. I've seen her in there too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's who. That's what Sarala looks like. And why don't you describe for us what the two of your characters look like, just so we get a reminder.
Oh, now I can't remember the name of the actor that
Terrence Stamp was the one you were thinking of, wasn't
Oh, right, yeah. And I'm sure everybody at home knows who Terrence Stamp is.
it? Neil before Captain Williams.
Yeah, he's like the original Zod.
Yeah, that's exactly who he is. Yeah.
Oh, Terrence Stamp. Oh, I love it. Zod. That's what I call my beard. I call my beard the General Zod.
Yeah, and then when he got older, like he's got the receding hairline and sort of the spiky gray hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I look more like maybe not quite as old as he looks now, but I am a little bit older. So
yeah, you're about
like I'm almost 50.
Yeah, you're 8 years older than Miltiades. Emmy, hey, quit peeking.
Yeah.
Emmy, hey, quit peeking. Get out of there, Emmy.
So he's got the receding hairline, sort of graying hair, spiky like that, and he's got some character on his face, some character lines.
Okay, nice. And what is he dressed in?
I think
I can't remember who I picked now.
You said Jean Reno. I thought.
Jean Reno, that's right, of course. Yes. So that characteristic face that has no duplicate, and in that deep voice that resonates wherever it goes.
Okay. Nice. Okay, and Harv looks like the Jackal Man. So. Okay, so our scene opens in actually let me take a look at the what do you call it, the what's the word I'm looking for here, layout of the Belfi. This is one of my favorite things, incidentally, about the Traveler books, is I fucking love that every one of the ships has a layout. So you can see exactly where everything is. That's just so cool. So
yeah,
our scene opens with a character who is we're in a small cabin. We can see there are 2 bunks that are like a bunk bed, effectively, set into the wall. There's a small light source that sort of has come on at a small desk, and we see a man who is in his late 40s, sort of stir from bed. I can't remember. Is your character, Jeff, clean shaven, or is he? Does he have a beard?
I think that he's clean shaven.
He's clean shaven. Okay.
Yeah.
So he gets up and looks over and notes the time, and pulls himself out of bed. He dresses in the sort of uniform that was draped over his chair, takes a sip out of a glass that has some kind of liquid left in it, and then walks over and hits a button so the door slides to the side, and he steps out into a little hallway. As he steps out, we can hear a conversation is happening between 2 people, what sounds like a man and a woman. And the woman says, "Look, Harv, I don't want to hear it anymore. This is bullshit. It's superstition. And you hear the man say, no, there's scientific proof behind it. It's a sour jump. And you look over, and what we see is sitting at this table is a South Asian woman with very big, beautiful eyes, who's feeding little bits of food to this bizarre, like sort of yellow feathered lizard thing that is kind of, sticking its tongue out and eagerly taking the little morsels of food that she's feeding it from her plate. Sitting across from her is a very furred, jackal-headed man, and he has finished his. He's got an empty plate in front of him, but he's very eagerly describing things, or speaking in a very agitated sort of manner, gesticulating with his hands as he does so. And at this point, we see another person walk in and make his way over towards sort of the food storage, unit. And what does that guy look like, Steve? I think he's
wearing all black, sort of tight-fitting uniform. He's a fairly tall, broad-shouldered kind of individual, and he looks rather sort of imperious in his outfit, although he's not wearing any insignia or anything on it.
Okay. So as you walk in, and as the other man, as Captain Williams steps in, Harv turns to you guys and says, perfect. Settle the bet for me. There is the concept of a sour jump is scientific proof, is it not?
A what jump?
A sour jump.
Sour jump.
He's looking
What's
at you.
sour jump?
You're idiots for not knowing this.
We are idiots.
This is proven. The Vargar Psionic Society. I know that the Third Imperium finds psionics to be abhorrent and illegal, but more open-minded societies like the Zodani and like the Vargar have studied this matter. Luck is a scientific, or is a psionic manifestation. And when one travels through bending the laws of physics, you're exposing yourself to such psionic, certain psionic materials and powers. A sour jump is just an accumulation of those scientific certainties into one manifestation. And Sorella sort of looks up and she says, Captain, to Williams, Captain, Harv says that we can't sell the cargo, and we can't get passengers because we're suffering from a sour jump. He says, it's proof. We just need to purge ourselves of it, keep jumping, and eventually it'll sort itself out. This has been studied by the Vargar.
Sour jump. That's a first for me.
So, as context, guys, Harv's not necessarily wrong. As a reminder to you guys, and for those listening at home, the cargo hold of the Belfi currently contains, broadly speaking, two kinds of cargo. One of those is sort of just general materials and cargo, and it's sort of like raw materials that can be bought and sold almost anywhere. The other cargo is a much more interesting thing, because it's about 32 tons worth of nuclear weapons that were procured by Commander Gavros through one of his contacts as he left the military. The difficulty being, of course, that finding a seller or a purchaser for nuclear weapons is a very tricky prospect. Harv is choosing to take that. I'm assuming that you have shared with Harv and with Sorella what's in the cargo hold, because that's probably why they're sticking around. When you guys find a seller for this, if you can find a seller for this, you are going to make a fortune. Tricky thing is being able to find a seller for it without tweaking local authorities. Now, what's happened over the last little bit is, I guess one thing that Harv doesn't necessarily know, you guys are making your way to a system called Marduk. And Marduk is sort of a, it is part of what's known as the Sindalan Arm, and it's part of one of the trade routes that cuts its way across the Trojan Reach. And I can't remember if I showed you guys this last time or if I purchased it in the time between, but I couldn't wait for the Pirates of Drinax box set to come out. So I went and picked up a sector map for the Trojan Reaches.
Nice.
This is where we're adventuring, guys.
Wow.
This is all the space that we will be occupying over the next, several months. So in here, up here, guys, is where let me put it on camera here. There we go. So up here, where it's purplish, this whole region is the third Imperium. It goes down up here and covers 2 different sectors. Between there and down here, all this orange sort of stuff down here, this is the Aslan Pirate. And I think we talked about it last time. The Aslan are these extremely warlike, very honor-driven, and clan-based lion men. So there we go. I love that power armor. Isn't
Aslan the name of the lion from Narnia?
Oh yeah, I should mention that this game originally came out in 1979, and they have not changed the name since then. So at least there's that. It's not as bad as, say, the names of the species in Star Wars that were named by the role-playing game, like Mon Calamari for a shrimp-looking character.
Yeah, for a calamari.
Yeah, exactly. So, but anyway, where we are adventuring, guys, is this fat sort of where you're hoping to make your riches is this giant barbaric sector in between, or regions in between. The Sindalan main sort of goes from Imperial space over here, from the Third Imperium, and then up and over into a region known as the the Florian League, right? The Florian are a weird offshoot of humanity that was, like 300,000 or 200,000 years ago, was altered by this unknown ancient alien race. And the other one goes from basically the Imperial worlds here down into the Aslan Pirate. So there are 2 main sort of arteries of trade routes. And Marduk is located right, where is it here? Here, I believe, right there, right in the middle. It is part of the what's known as the Sindalan sector. There are 3 different worlds: Marduk, Ogma, and what's the other one? Borite. So the reason that you've come to Marduk is because an old girlfriend of Captain Williams has contacted him. Someone that used to stayed in touch with Charles. And I think, you know what, if I'd been a better GM, I would have actually introduced this as a scene. So we're going to go back and imagine that when you got up, you went over and found and replayed this message. And what it is, it's a message from someone named, where's her name here? I just wrote
Amy.
Sorry?
Amy.
Amy, right. So Amy Douglas, right?
Yep.
Amy Douglas, when you met her when you were part of the Merchant Marine, and you guys dated during that period. And at that time, she was a relatively low level sort of bureaucrat in this interstellar corporation called the General Development Corporation, or GDCO, as what everyone sort of calls it. So GDCO is effectively, there is such a thing as mega corporations which spread all across the Imperium. In the Trojan Reaches, the GDCO is effectively has the power of a mega corporation. Mega corporations will spread across sectors. So they're much, much bigger, much more bigger, much more powerful. GDCO, though, for the purpose of the Trojan Reaches, is that powerful. And in the time since you guys dated 20 years ago, she's made her way slowly up in the organization. And when you, the message from her was that, next time you find yourself at Marduk, because she knows you travel up and down the Sindalan Arm, trying to trade your wares and whatever. Drop me a line. I have a perfect opportunity for you. And she knows you quite well, so you take it that she wouldn't be wasting your time or whatnot, and she knows what you're involved with. And Marduk itself is not a great destination to try and offload stuff, but it is on the Sindalan Main, so maybe you can offload at least some of the crappier cargo you've got, and maybe pick up some new stuff, and at the same time, pay for the fuel you need to get to your next jump. I'm picturing you guys as a little bit rudderless right now. You're sort of, I know that Steve, your character is trying to acquire, like, you've got a sort of wish list of things you want to pick up right. Because you found yourself with nothing. I'm picturing picking up about 3 months after you were discharged from the military, Steve, and when you were in no uncertain terms invited to leave Admiral Derricken's service, Jeff.
Right.
So it's going to be only a matter of a couple of hours before you arrive at Marduk, but that's why you're traveling here. But Harv has another theory. Harv thinks that you guys are suffering as a result of a sour jump.
Oh, I see. The sour side effects.
It's effectively like the interstellar equivalent of like having a Jonah on board. Just bad luck. And as a result, because psionics are a real thing in here, he's telling you that, Vargar scientists and Zodani scientists have proven that a sour jump is an actual thing. Whether you put any stock in that is completely up to you guys.
Right. And we don't have we don't have a psionic on board.
No, not at all.
Right.
At least no one who's admitted to that. Psionics are illegal in the Third Imperium.
Okay.
But of course, all people have cosmic energies that can resonate with cosmic physics.
In this world too. I mean, anybody can be tested. You just have to go. It's like anything else. You can have propensities for something, but never really explore it, and that's true of psionics as well. Now, as with every, and forgive me if I'm repeating stuff you guys remember from before or have read since, any jump, regardless of how many parsecs you jump, it always takes roughly 1 week. Right. I mention this because during that week you can be studying. That's often what you guys will be doing, is devoting time to further enhancing or further refining your abilities. So give some consideration as to what you want to spend that week doing, because we'll track that stuff, and then once you reach, I believe it's 8 weeks or 10 weeks, then you get to make an education check to see if you've actually improved your ability.
Great.
Okay.
And it can be anything. Can it be my education, like my general education?
Stats cannot be. It's got to be a skill.
Okay. I know what I want to study. I would like to, because I'm a planner. I'm a schemer. Now, back when I was in the military, it was easy enough for me to use my authority and my status to try to make swing deals and impress various trading partners. But this cargo that we've got now is sort of above and beyond what I've had to deal with before, and I'm not altogether, and I recognize this, prepared to sort of deal with it. So what I want to do is improve my knowledge of the market for these items and how to deal with people, and sort of improve my streetwise factor so that I can hit the ground running when it comes time to try to offload these things.
I think probably there's a lot of long conversations with Harv about that, because that's Harv's wheelhouse for sure. So that'll help.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so just so you guys understand, for the purpose of making your rolls and whatnot, you're going to assume that Harv has a 2 in streetwise, a 2. Hold on here. What are the other skills I need? Here we go. So you can assume he has a 2 in streetwise and a 2 in broker.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so that way you guys will make the rolls for that, but that way you're not totally without. And just so you understand how that works, or like why those are important, is because when you're conducting commerce, whether that's trying to trade in a bulk cargo or trying to purchase certain items, right? What you're going to need to do is it's sort of, they give it a 7-step process, which is the full thing of trade, which is find a supplier, determine what goods are available, determine a purchase price, purchase the goods, travel to another market, find a buyer, and then determine the sale price. Of those, determining purchase price and purchasing the goods is where broker or streetwise comes in. And when you're trying to find a buyer and determine the sale price, likewise, streetwise or broker comes in. Streetwise is used with illegal stuff, like, say, a cargo hold full of nuclear weapons. And broker is used for more legitimate supplies, like, for instance, the bulk cargo that you guys are carrying, the metal and plastics that you've got in your hold.
So he's kind of our like our salesman.
Exactly. Now you'll see also in the rule book that in, like, let's say both you guys will get, so actually for the hardcover it'll be page 210. Steve, I don't know what page it. Actually, give me 2 seconds here. I'm gonna grab my copy of the what do you call it, box set.
Sure.
Okay, so I believe it's book 2.
Mm-hmm.
Which is Spacecraft and Worlds.
Great.
And I am looking on, let's see here. Here we go. Page 86 of book 2 for you, Steve, and page 210 of the core book for you, Jeff.
All right.
I just want to quickly explain how you read the skill checks, because there's a bunch of skill challenges, and forgive me if I'm telling you stuff you guys already know, but everything is listed. You see how on that page it lists, actually, Steve, do you have that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you see how it says finding a supplier, and then it gives you an average 8+. So that tells you the difficulty. That's what you need to roll or higher. Broker tells you what skill you're rolling. And then in brackets, the D6 days, that'll tell you how long it takes to do each skill check. And then edu or soc tells you what ability modifier you get to add to it. Now, one thing you can choose to do to try and improve your chances of success is to take more time doing things. If you look, let me see, I gotta find, here we go, characters. So Jeff, I'm on now page 60, and Steve, I am in book 1 on page 60 actually as well. So what this guy gives you is the time frames table, and for those listening at home, this is what I'm looking at. It's a list of how long things take. So what this means, guys, is when you look at whatever the length of time that you're spending. So, for instance, yours was a D6. That one was D6 days. If you want to do it faster, so say D6 times 10 hours, that means that'll make it a harder check. But if you take longer, it will be easier. So, for instance, if you're trying to land, calculate your astrogation thing, you can take the required time, which is like, I don't know, D6 rounds or something like that. Or you can take more time, and for each step up gives you +2 to your check. Similarly, each step down gives you -2 to your check. Does that make sense, guys?
So depending on how, yeah, totally.
So I wanted to make sure to go through that just so that you, I want you guys to be able to work the system, as it were, when you're trying to do these things. So I'm not because I mean, like, there will be times where you will want to spend a little extra time on things to make sure that you can achieve what you want to do. Jeff, do you know
Right.
what were you training for that week of travel?
Well, so yeah, that changes our plans a little because you've introduced this guy for us who has some of these skills we were looking at,
Oh,
Yeah, sure, do whatever you want.
which is cool. I like that. Actually, you know what?
One thing I'll mention, Jeff, is that in the course of the campaign, one of the really cool things that I found, or that's in the Pirates of Drinax, is there are rules for that sort of simulate that each of these crew members, they're not characters in your story necessarily. Because it's a sandbox game, one of the things that really gives it that real lived-in kind of responsive world feel is that things will not necessarily happen according to script. There will be things that happen. You're like, how the fuck did that? This isn't just fit with my story. Part of that is that there is a way of tracking like morale or like when crew members decide to leave the crew. So while Harv is with you right now, while Shirala is with you right now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're always going to be with you.
So we could still train some of those things that they're providing for us, so that if they leave,
Absolutely.
we're covered.
Because if they leave, that means you guys got to hire someone to do that, or neither of you guys are trained in that at all, which means that you suffer I believe, a -3 dice modifier.
Well, then I'm going to be learning. So maybe actually part of the reason we've brought him on is that not only to do this stuff for us, but to teach us how to broker and how to streetwise. So essentially, he's like almost running courses for us in a way, while we're traveling.
One thing to bear in mind as well is that Vargr have a bit of a weird approach. I shouldn't say weird. It's an alien approach. It's a different approach to sort of social order. Vargr will tend to follow the most charismatic person, the person who seems to be the most persuasive, the most that has the most presence, or at least appears to have the most presence. That's who they'll follow. And when that person doesn't have it anymore, or when they meet someone who has a different, appeals to them in a different way, they will follow them. That's not to say that they'll all everyone just flocks from one to another, but what it means is that Vargr society sees an extraordinary amount of upheaval. Corporations can dissolve overnight, armies can dissolve overnight, and so forth. It also means that they can be seen as being very fickle in terms of long-term commitments, because that's just the way that their society is. Harv at this point is really interested in thinks that one of you two has a lot going for him, obviously. Otherwise, he wouldn't be on the crew.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. So, anyway, what do you think you would like to train them?
Well, I'm going to be training in. Is it called broker?
In broker, okay.
Right. That's the one you use for legitimate goods, right?
That's totally true. Yeah. Okay. So I've got down that you guys are you got 1 week of broker and 1 week of streetwise trade. Nice. Okay. So you guys will be arriving. Let me give you a little background about Marduk, because one of the things that happens when you arrive in a system is you guys each have a little comm unit, which is effectively like a cell phone. And when you jump into a system, one of the things that your comm unit will almost automatically do is it should update a sort of like a basic primer on the system, and it'll download sort of default language programs as well. One of the nice things with your comm unit is it can serve as a translator as well, so you don't need to speak whatever language or whatever debased form of I think they call it Galanglish, which is like galactic English. Galanglic is what it's called, not Galanglish. If you encounter a culture that has been cut off from the rest of the galaxy for 1,500 years, the really degenerated or mutated version of Galanglic that they speak, hopefully your translator will be able to either provide the translations, or it will sort out a translation as you interact with them. The reason I mention this is because you start learning a little bit about Marduk. So the world of Marduk is a stopover on the Sandalian Main, or rather its starport is. The world itself is small, but habitable enough with a breathable atmosphere, though a rebreather or a filter is recommended, and plenty of water. The main continents are completely uninhabited, officially at least, with the only indigenous population dwelling on several island archipelagos. These were fairly isolated during the collapse of the Sandalian Empire and the wars that went with it. The Sandalian Empire was from about 2,000 years ago. So they were isolated from the collapse of the Sandalian Empire and the wars that went with it, and were spared the bombardment of major cities that took place on Marduk. Various accounts exist of what happened to the population of Marduk. It's likely that all of them contain some elements of truth. Radioactive fallout, famine, plagues of natural and unnatural causes, and hosts of other causes more or less wiped out the population on the mainlands, which became taboo to the locals. One of the things about the Sandalian Empire is that when it collapsed, like a lot of empires, there were a lot of last-ditch dramatic efforts to try and contain, to maintain control over those like colonies. Some of those efforts included orbital nuclear bombardment, tailored genetic or chemical plagues, or combinations of them. Once the mainland population dropped below a critical amount, the remaining people died out over subsequent generations, while the small island populations continued to survive at a much simpler level of technology. Today, these island groups are each home to a few thousand people who have developed separately. Contact with outsiders, including people from other island groups, is shunned, and the islanders have developed very different cultures and dialects that in some cases have become entirely separate languages. Since it is forbidden to learn the tongues of other groups, the divergence continues to this day. What else here? The port at Marduk. There is the high port and the low port. High port is the space station that drifts above Marduk, and the low port is the one on the surface that is on a man-made island. That, incidentally, is where Amy is employed. She is a senior system administrator that's on the island, excuse me, or on the low port. And the low port was actually built from the ground up, technically from the coastal seabed up, by GDCO, by the General Development Corporation, to facilitate trade throughout the Sandalian Main. So one other tidbit that you guys do know, you guys have been through Marduk, the Marduk High Port before. One other tidbit you know is that, so this is the Sandalian cluster here, guys. Let me get the camera to focus. There we go. Look at that. Oof.
Wow.
Marduk is where you're going. Borite is it's not, I think it's uninhabited, but it's got some, it requires technology to survive there. It's a hostile kind of environment. But Ogma is basically a home of like techno barbarians. Their culture has, after the course of the long night and the collapse of the Sandalian Empire. Come on, focus again, will you? There you go. The inhabitants of Ogma have degenerated into basically clans that remain able to manufacture to a degree and maintain Jump 1 capable ships, but they basically use those to raid Borite and to raid Marduk, in particular looking for technologically advanced or people with technological training to kidnap them and bring them back to maintain their fleet. Ogma is effectively the home to the very worst kind of slaver pirates. Now, normally, because of Jump 1, I mentioned, guys, that your jump rating tells you how far you can jump. So each hex, come on, camera, focus on me. Come on, focus. There we go. Each parsec is 1 hex. So I can tell you that the hexes that are in the next subsector, the ones that are under Ogma there, that are rimward under Ogma, those are empty as well. Can you see the problem that the Pirates of Ogma may have if all they have is jump 1?
Yeah, they're stuck going to Marduk. That's it.
They can go to Marduk, and then they can go to Borite. The little symbol here, guys, tells you that there is a gas giant in there, which means as long as you're equipped with a fuel scoop and ideally a fuel processor, you can just like skim the atmosphere of a gas giant and refuel your ship that way, which means that the pirates, though it'll take them another jump, it'll take them minimum 2 weeks plus refueling time. They can go from Ogma to Marduk, Marduk to Borite, and then back, and keep their raider cycle going. So that's something you guys have been aware of. I think your experience in here, these are not advanced pirates. They are not clever. They're just brutal. You know, grab anything that's of technological value, grab people who know about that shit, drag them back, and work them until they die. So, yeah, so it's an awesome. So it's actually not the Sindal, it's the Ogma cluster. So this is the system into which you will be jumping. Is there anything else you want to do while you guys are in transit, in jump, or should we just skip to you guys arriving in system?
I think there's not much we can do apart from we'll concentrate on our studies.
Okay. So you guys are chatting it up with Harv, trying to strategize what you're going to do when you arrive at Marduk, and then sort of the warning or klaxons or whatever in the ship that indicate that you'll be dropping out of hyperspace. They start sounding, so you guys all take your positions. Harv just goes and straps himself into one of the chairs that's on the bridge. Sarala heads back to engineering to strap herself in there, and you guys take your positions as navigator or astrogator, I guess, and as pilot. And then there's a flash of light, and boom, you find yourself drifting in open space. Now, one of the things I think I mentioned is that I believe it's 100. It's either 100 or 1,000, but you need to be 100 or 1,000 diameters from any celestial body in order for your jump to operate properly. When you jump in to a system, you need to be a minimum of, I think it's 100 times the diameter. So if the, this isn't the correct number, but if the diameter of Earth was 10 miles, you would need to be 1,000 miles away from the Earth. And then you can, make your way in. Similarly, you cannot jump. You cannot, instigate a jump unless you are 100 diameters away from anything. I mention this only because you're always going to sort of jump in an empty space and then make your way towards your destination. So,
right,
you guys arrive, and you get the signal from Marduk Highport, so you know where you need to navigate towards. The time that it'll take you to get there is, oh, sorry guys, I should have flagged this table beforehand. Here we go. It will take you about, what is the what's the maneuver drive on the Belfi?
Our trader.
Yeah. Let's see. So the M drive is thrust 1G. Okay, so it's not super fast.
Oh, here it is.
So what I'm looking at, guys, it's page 153 of the core book, and it'll be somewhere in the book 2.
167?
153. I'm looking at the transit times.
Oh, I'm just looking at the Far Trader.
Yeah, so I think it'll take you about 2.5 hours or so to get to Marduk. So you jump in, and one of the things that so I mentioned last session, guys, when we were talking about or making the characters, that one of the things that one of the factors that's in the world profile is the law level. And the reason that's important is because anytime you guys, there are different things that you guys will do that will trigger a law check. I'll check and see whether the authorities of the world take an interest in you. And the dice modifiers for that are related to how fishy what you're doing is doing. If you're murdering people, and it's a high law level, then obviously that's going to, you're more likely to trigger a response. But when you jump into a system, that is when we make a check as well. So I'm just going to check here.
Right, to see if our jump triggered any suspicion.
Yeah, I mean, like to see whether they're, on this particular day, whether they're doing full inspections of ships that arrive, or whether they're just, they're too busy, or
see whether you're flying drunk.
Yeah, exactly. You're weaving around. Hey, no flying starships while impaired. So I don't see any dice modifiers, so I'm just going to roll for your, see if it's equal to the law level, and the law level at Marduk is a 6. Okay. So no one, apart from the standard sort of greeting that you get from Starport and the communications you have back and forth as to, where you're going to berth, there isn't, there isn't any other communication. So I am assuming that apart from whatever money you're carrying around, guys, you guys are flat broke. And Harv and Sarala are employees, so you're not going to be able to dip into their money. How much money do each of you have right now?
I've got, well, I had 10,000 left over because I had, well, actually, no, I had, yeah, that's about right, 10,005.
Ooh, but you spent 5,000, didn't you?
I had 15.
Oh, you had 15. Okay. Okay, so you got 10,000 credits left. Jeff, do you have any? I don't think you've got anything, do you?
No, I really don't have any cash, so to speak of.
Okay, so it will be, you are not going to have to pay Sarala or Harv until the end of the month.
Okay.
But, and I'm going to set it as just as an arbitrary thing. I'm going to set it as March 1st. And then we'll just track days going forward. And I think what I'll do is I'll print off an actual calendar so I can track it that way. And this will be interesting. So I'll share the campaign notes with you guys as we go. So like, by the time we, when this campaign has more legs under it, you guys will be able to go back and look at your calendar and see what you're doing where. Which I think will be cool. Okay, so you jump in on March 1st, and what was I saying? Sorry, I lost my train of thought there, guys. What were we talking about?
Money, law check, pass the law check.
Yeah, law check. So they told you. Oh, that's what I was going to. Is the I was thinking about the salaries for your crew members, and that is in here somewhere as well. Just so, and I'll look it up just so you guys know sort of what has to be paid. Well, one of the things that will have to be paid at the end of the month to you guys is the mortgage on this ship. And the mortgage on the ship is, where is it here? 4,353 per month. You can choose, and so that's the mortgage. There's also, that is the maintenance cost. I got to figure out what the mortgage costs or payments are. That's the maintenance cost.
We need some money here, dude.
Yeah, so it's going to cost you.
Sell some of our stuff.
Yeah, you can choose to not pay that, but then things you can see in the rules there are things that can start breaking down, and the Bell fee, it just so happens you actually have a penalty to your repair checks because she's kind of been fallen apart and put back together several times. Excuse me.
So maintenance is 4,000 a month.
Maintenance is about 4,000 a month. Your crew. Here we go. Sarala costs you about 4,000, and Harv costs about 2,000, so that's another 6,000 you're going to have to pay for your crew. And the mortgage, I'll look up another time, but there's a fair amount. What fucking, you know, we're doing it right now anyway. If I look it up once, I don't have to look it up again. I believe it's.
Broke, Jeff. Let's check out bankruptcy.
I think your mortgage is prorated over 30 years, and this one there's 25% that's paid so far because of that's the way that Jeff got his or his roll went. Where is it here?
I think we're gonna have to do some passenger transports here.
Or sell your stuff.
Yeah, sell that stuff for sure. That would take care of some business.
It certainly would, and it would stop the nuclear weapons from kind of burning a hole in your pocket, as it were.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the goal is absolutely to sell things, so.
Okay, so.
Guess we'll have to use Harv.
Yeah.
Because we don't have enough time. I mean, we can sell the ore to buy some time.
Yeah, that's the thing. So the reason I wanted to get your dog. So who wants to be the sort of money man here?
It doesn't matter to me.
Whoever it is going to be responsible for tracking the bookkeeping.
Okay, sure, I can do it.
You do? Okay. So right now you guys have 10,000 credits. I'm assuming that Miltiades is willing to sort of share his nest egg with you to try and keep this thing, you know, flying.
Sure.
Which will be important because let's see here, docking fees.
Plus, I have 2 ship shares, right?
Right, those we're going to keep banked. That's money you got banked right now that you can't access. It will come up when you guys get the Drinaxian Harrier.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so like that's, I'm not, I haven't forgotten about that stuff. It's just that for now, that's sort of inaccessible. Think of them like long-term investments that you're not able to access just yet.
Gotcha.
And I think that maybe what you did is like whatever sort of easily accessible, disposable income that you had went into purchasing the cargo that you got right now.
Right.
I think maybe you, so for those listening at home, we randomly generated what was in the cargo. So it just so happened that we found out that, you know, a good chunk of it was nuclear weapons. So we did not, yeah, I think what happened is you guys sunk most of your money into purchasing that stuff. And then the other crap that is sort of like hiding, the other cargo is sort of hiding that, that stuff. And then you quickly found out that it was a lot harder to offload than what you had anticipated. Okay, so then let's see, birthing fees. Let's try to see how long that is. I don't know. I think I'll say per week. So the cost to birth here is, let me roll randomly. It's going to cost you 300 credits for the week.
All right.
So
I'll keep track of my 10,000 if that's if you want me to.
Well, which I think Jeff said he would track the.
Yeah, it says it's your money. If you want to track it, Steve, that's cool too.
Okay. So
either way, or we can pull the resources. That's fine if you're gonna keep track of all of it.
Sure. Either way.
Yeah, let's do that.
So, okay. You guys have docked. You have arrived at Marduk Highport. Now, what Amy has told you is, in addition to the fact that she's got a job for you, she has also offered to pay for, even if you don't take the job, she's offered to pay for sort of like a few weeks stay in Marduk. So sort of a paid vacation. Wow. So the like any other accommodations expenses are all going to be eaten up by GDCO.
Nice.
So now what you guys need to decide is what you want to do first with your time in Marduk. I think that Captain Williams and Miltiades will want to go to the surface to discuss this, job with Amy eventually, but you don't need to go down there right away. So I gotta go to the washroom, guys. Let me take a quick break here. You guys discuss amongst yourselves what you want to do, and then we'll start rolling some dice when I get back.
Sounds good. Do we need any equipment right away? I mean, the only equipment I have.
What kind of equipment? Like what do you mean? Like weapons and like that kind of thing?
Yeah, like that's all I've got. I've got some security stuff. I've got some safety stuff, and I've got some weapons, dive suits, rebreathers, things like that. Yeah, stuff that's not necessarily pressing at this moment. I guess we should try to sell our ore.
Right.
This would be a good place to do it by the sound. Yeah. And I mean, we've got some weapons. We don't have a ton of defenses, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah, we don't really have any defenses, do we?
No, not really.
We're kind of yeah. That's the one danger. We're like kind of really a sitting duck if we get into any trouble.
Exactly. And the ore we were carrying isn't going to be enough to buy weapons for the ship. It would be enough to buy a pretty cool assortment of weapons for us. Our armor's pretty light, though, personal armor. I mean, we've just basically got basic self-defense.
Right.
And we would still only have basic self-defense if we spent our money from the ore on stuff like that, too. We could get some slightly improved armor and stuff like that, but it's not worth it, probably. Better just to probably take the money from the ore and apply it towards expenses while we try to figure something else out about the bigger cargo.
Right.
The job that Amy has offered or has mentioned, it pays 5,000 credits. She did tell you that.
All right.
Now, one of the things that this guy's there you go. Let's just see. This is what Marduk Highport looks like. Zoom in, camera focus. There we go. So there's several arms of the Highport that accommodate different kinds of vessels. Some much larger, fleet size ships, and then smaller far traders or smaller ships like yours. So as you guys arrive at station, the Belfie sort of drifts in, and there's a docking clamp that sort of hooks up with it. And if you look at you see where the airlock is on the far trader at 3, right at sort of the neck of the ship. There's one airlock. Do you see that, guys, at 3?
On the image of the ship?
Yeah, on the image. So here's the far trader, and the airlock is right there.
Yeah.
That's where you guys are docking, and that's where it sort of hooks up. Now, as you hook up, you can hear the internal speakers of the far trader are sort of activated, and you hear a woman's voice say, "Welcome to Marduk Highport." And it says this is in a bit of an accented Galanglic. And then it goes through, that every time you arrive in a port, it goes through sort of a bit of a rigmarole as to, sort of what the local laws are and stuff like that, like how to stay out of trouble stuff. Before disembarking, please ensure that all weapons more significant than sidearms and hand weapons are left on board. Any larger weapons are forbidden on Marduk Highport and Marduk Lowport. please ensure that all personal body armor, all indiscreet personal body armor is likewise stored. Any passengers wearing cloth or heavier armor will be refused entry to Marduk Highport. There's it goes through a list of things like stealing, violence, murder, stuff like that.
So my advanced combat rifle is not welcome.
Your advanced combat rifle is not welcome on Marduk Highport. Travelers with a commercial intent should be aware that licenses are required to sell sensitive goods, including weapons, star parts, advanced electronics, and the like. We would refer you to the list included in the file uploaded to your comm for further information. If you require assistance, please do not hesitate to approach Highport staff, who are eager and happy to assist. Thank you. Welcome to Marduk Highport, and enjoy your stay. Now, you guys have probably heard that whole spiel before. That's sort of what what's being what the sort of lay of the land is. Now, what you guys know is because Marduk really only has the low port and the high port are really the only places that anyone would want to ever visit. Those two places are fairly fairly controlled in the sense that anyone who wants to go down to the low port has to take a shuttle controlled by a Judico and have that go down to the low port. So if you want to go to the surface, you got to take that, and you can find the obviously Amy's paying for that for you, but you can find that the shuttle service elsewhere on the station on Marduk Highport. Steve, you are because you're ex-military, you also notice that there is not like Imperial fleet quality armaments, but there were quite a few missile batteries that are on the Highport that are clearly there as a deterrent, likely for, in particular, the raiders from Ogma, and probably from just general raiders, from elsewhere in the Trojan reaches. This is sort of the Wild West, as it were. So, you guys arrive in at the Highport. Now, those are the rules for it. You can try and sneak stuff on past customs. Yeah. But do you want to try that, or you want to just restrict yourself to the?
Seems risky.
Yeah, what's the point of that? I mean, I can take my body pistol. I can take my light armor that I've got anyway, and I can take my static sword. So, that's good enough.
Yep. Yeah, the protect suit. The protect suit would be completely fine. The cloth suit, not. They'd probably call you on that.
Yeah, I think we're good with just the stuff they're recommending. I don't think we need to try to sneak any extra in or.
Okay. So I was adding a to-do list from my thing, or to my campaign notes, and I'm
Kill
just
character.
What's that?
Kill characters.
No, I don't need a reminder for that. Come on. I'm just right now calculate monthly expenses, so you'll know what all your expenses are for the month. Okay, but fortunately, that stuff's not due until the end of the month. So between now and the end of March, you need to come up with at least about 14 grand.
14 large, huh?
Yeah, 14,000 credits. So what do you guys want to do? You travel through, assuming that you're not smuggling anything else on board. You pass through customs relatively uneventfully. One of the customs officials gives Sarala a bit of a hard time about her little pet, but she manages to sort of bully her way through. For a small, slight South Asian woman, she has remarkable presence when she wants to. So she gets through there. Now, I'm assuming you guys have had an opportunity to discuss sort of strategy with Harv as you're coming in here. Mechanically speaking, you've got whatever amount of time you want before you take the shuttle down to see Amy. So if you want to engage in some commerce and try and find a buyer for some of your stuff, or Steve, if you want to try and locate someone to buy some of the other stuff that you want to buy, you can do that.
Yeah, let's see here.
Is the port is a good place to do this stuff?
Okay, so here's one of the other things is when you're there are certain dice modifiers that will come depending on the system, like this system codes. If you look at the sheet, let's see here. This will be in book 2 for you, Steve, and Jeff. I'll just give you the page reference for the core book. It's 212 in the core book. So this is what I'm looking at, guys. Is the trade sheet here. This is all the trade codes for the different stuff you've got. You'll notice that on that sheet there are modifiers for purchase, DM, and sale for selling. So for buying and selling stuff, there are different dice modifiers. The things that are described, so like looking at the top there, Common Electronics has, for purchasing, you get +2 to your dice modifier if you're in an industrial area. If the system you're in has an industrial code. If it is high tech, you get +3. And if it's rich, you get +1, and all that shit stacks. Similarly, if you're selling it to a non-industrial place, gets +2, low tech gets +1, poor gets +1. And then the inverse sort of happens. Those are things that are a benefit for purchase, they're a negative when you're trying to sell, and so forth. Where you are now in Marduk, the system codes are low tech and non-industrial, because this place was bombed to shit like 1,500 years ago and has not recovered since.
All right.
So for your raw materials, your common raw materials, which are your metals and plastics that are in there, effectively there's no dice modifiers to find someone to sell it to. You compare that with your nuclear weapons, and there are no dice modifiers apart from the law level. Because what you do is you take the local law level, which is a 6, and then you subtract that from the law level at which those weapons become illegal. Not surprisingly, nuclear weapons owned by civilians is illegal at any law level. So you guys get a hefty minus like 5 or 6 dice modifier to try to sell those things.
Pretty impossible.
Yeah, so it's not impossible, because like if you take a look at that thing, if you are trying to sell in, say, a red zone, like a really dangerous world, you get +10 to the dice modifier. Because the crazy fucking people, the crazy people who are in those regions, they'll want to buy that shit.
Right.
Trouble is that there are other challenges that come from going to a red zone or an amber zone planet.
Right.
So, like, what's going to happen is, guys, I'm going to send you between now and the next session. I'll send you, actually not now in the next, but in the next little bit, I'll be sending you the sector map, and you guys will be able to look and, using your books, you'll be able to figure out what worlds have what sort of, what codes. So you can try to, the idea being that you can maybe plan, like, hey, let's pick up ships from here, we'll travel to here and sell it for more. At least that's a long-term sort of thing. And then, I shouldn't say it. That's one way you can play this game. Another way is, once we get into the full-on pirate stuff, you can just become pirates, which will have challenges in that itself. But for this place, what it means is effectively there's no dice modifier for trying to sell that regular cargo. But because nuclear weapons are highly illegal, there will be a significant dice penalty there. And the other challenge that comes from selling illegal stuff is that if you fuck up, if you fail, and you get a really significant whatever it's called, the range with which you fail, the effect, I should say, that relates directly to how bad the result is, the response is, from like, people are starting to ask questions of us when they shouldn't be asking questions, to you encounter rival pirates who want to steal your shit, or Imperial agents who want to know why the fuck you're carrying Imperial nuclear weapons. So,
not their mind.
So what would you guys like to do? What do you think? What's the first sort of task you want to try here? And this, for the purpose of this, guys, let's just we'll just play around with the rules and see how they play out. I have no idea how the dice fall in this, but that's gonna be part of the fun of this campaign, I think.
Absolutely. Well, I guess we should try for the common ore, hey, Jeff? Or the ore, whatever we have.
Yeah. Well, no, it's just isn't it just common like stuff?
What is it? Is it trade goods? Like
yeah, the stuff you've got to sell is the metal and plastics is coded as common raw materials. That would be result 14 on the trade goods chart, and you guys have.
Did we roll for that already?
You got 34 tons of that, and the purchase price, and each ton of that is worth 5,000 credits.
Cool.
So you sell that. Now the thing is, you need to bear in mind is if you intend to carry other cargo, you do need cash to purchase that cargo. Right. So it's be a bit of a balancing act to figure out how much you can sell, how much you have to reserve, and so forth.
Right.
But you can also always make money just by bringing passengers as well, shuttling them back and forth, or taking mail. If you look in that whole section there's other ways. Like instead of what you guys are doing is speculative trade. It's buying shit and trying to sell it for a profit at another place. There is more basic like cargo you can carry, like freight traffic, which is listed a little earlier in that section, or passengers, or both. You can also try and carry the mail. Imperial mail is a very important thing. Like I said, there's no such thing as faster than light communication. So
we need cash. Let's. I say we go for passengers and mail too. What do you say?
Well, do you want to wait until after we get rid of our nuclear stuff, or no? You're not.
We could do that. Yeah.
Like
we don't want Snoopy passengers.
Not really. I'm a little nervous about that.
Okay.
I think we could offload what we have. Excuse me, some of it here maybe to try and get enough cash to deal with the nuclear stuff we have.
All right. So we don't get any bonuses for the common raw materials here. We would just do a roll.
Well, first thing what you need to do is to find a buyer. That'll take
a buyer. That's right.
Yeah. So what that'll be is an average, so 8 or higher broker check. They're currently, I don't see any for those materials. I don't see any dice modifiers. So it'll really just be a dice roll plus Harv's social bonus, which is +1, and his skill, which is a +2. So you get +3 to your roll.
That's not bad. You want to do the rolling?
Sure. Okay. So what is the?
It's
a skill.
2d6 +3 is what you're gonna roll.
Pretty good odds.
2d6 +3. 3. I guess I can't say no. Okay. What's not bad? 10.
10, nice. Okay,
nice.
Cool. So, oh shit, you know what you get? Because you are in a Class C starport, you also get +2 to that roll. So actually you got a 12.
Nice.
That's pretty good. Okay, so now someone give me a D6 roll. Just a D6.
Okay. Come on, baby. 3.
Okay, so that'll take you 3 days. So, if you remember that the weird asteroid thing that we first saw in Rogue One when we first met Captain Andor, where he shot that guy in the back. That's sort of what I'm picturing this is like. There's no aliens, apart from Vargur and maybe some Aslan. There's not a lot of other aliens that are moving around on Marduk Starport, but that's how busy this place is and cramped. So there's probably like, there are services, there's restaurants, there's, saloons, there's gambling, there are casinos. And there are plenty of vendors on here as well, both permanent and transient. So you guys have killed about 3 days of Harv asking around to see who's here and who might be able to purchase this stuff, and he has found someone. So the next thing is to find out what how much money is being offered for your cargo. So I gotta grab I don't have a calculator, so let's grab my phone. You have 34 tons of this stuff. So 34 tons times 5,000 per ton. Yeah.
Oh, I need to get my battery. Hold on.
Sure. So the purchase price is 170,000 credits as the base thing. So now what we need to do is to see what Harv is going to get in terms of price. There's no dice modifiers for this stuff, so it's going to be fairly cheap. And then what I need you to do is, Jeff, would you kindly roll 3d6 and add 3 to the result?
3d6 plus 3.
Yep.
13.
Nice.
The 3 is Harv's number. What'd you roll?
13.
13. Okay.
Sweet.
Nice. Okay. So the amount that's being offered, guys,
That is good.
is
Are you looking at the page, Jeff?
is actually 178,500 credits.
Wow.
So I think it's a guy who is on his way to is he heading north? I think not north, fucking north. He's heading coreward towards the one of the Imperial subsectors, and he's got room. That he's got a buyer that he's fairly confident will pay a pretty penny for this stuff. So he's offered you, in fact, like so you know how this is working. You rolled 3d6 plus your plus Harv's broker skill and his dice and his social modifier, and then I'm comparing that to the result on the modified price chart. So your sale price is 105. Now you can choose to accept that, or you guys can wait a month and try again to find a buyer.
I think it's 110.
Note 13 is oh, you're right. Yeah, it's 110. Sorry, I was reading the wrong way. So let's see here, divided by 1.05.
Well,
1.1 is 187,000 credits. That's what you're being offered for that cargo.
Well, what do you think, Jeff?
That's for materials?
That's all your regular raw materials. Yeah.
Oh wow!
I mean, it's not. It wasn't the best roll, but it was a pretty average roll.
Right, but we need cash.
Yeah.
Like we don't need to let him know, but we are a little short on just spending money.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to have some spending money while we figure out how to sell this nuclear stuff.
All right.
Okay. So you guys are accepting the sale price then?
Yeah, I think we should.
Okay, nice.
I'm in agreement.
Okay, so you guys sell 187,000. Sell the stuff, and you now have 34 tons of space in your cargo hold, and you guys have another 87,000 credits, which means, let's see here, your total is 196,700.
Sweet.
So at least you can pay for fuel because your fuel has been used up in the jump. Now, because this is a Class C starport, it only sells unrefined fuel. And what unrefined fuel, the risk with that is that if you fuck up your astrogation check when you're calculating your jump, unrefined fuel is a lot less forgiving than what refined fuel is, and can result in some pretty nasty results, like missed jumps. Fuel, let's see here, fuel processors, you need Where is it here? Fuel tanks. 20 tons of fuel. And the cost is about 500 tons. Oh, for unrefined is only 100 per ton. So that means you need 2,000 credits to refuel the engine. Should I take that off the thing right now?
Guess we got it.
Yeah.
The alternative is you guys can fly out to the gas giant and try and scoop unrefined fuel that way. You're chewing up time doing that, and there's risk that comes with that as well. So do you want to just pay for the fuel, or do you want to go and capture it yourself?
How much time are we talking here?
To get to the gas giant, your ship is not particularly fast, so likely to get to the gas giant. Let's see here. It would take you. Yeesh. 136 hours. So about, I think that's 5 days ish. Is that right?
Mm.
Yeah, it's about half of 20. I don't even know. Hold on.
$60,000, but
It would take you, yeah, about 5.5 days to get to the gas giant, and then you have to fly to the jump point. What do you guys think? Pay for the gas, or go and do it yourself?
And what is it? 20,000?
The no, it's 2,000. 2,000. It's 100 credits per ton for unrefined. And I think that the Far Trader does have fuel processors that can basically in half a day you can process that unrefined fuel into refined fuel, and you're good to go. You don't have to worry about the potential misjump.
You know, honestly, Steve, we should almost decide how we value our time, and then just use that all the time.
right.
Like, do we think in 5 days? So, I mean, that's a lot. How much are we paying our people? Did you say 4,000?
Yeah, their
6,000
wages
a month, right?
Yeah, it's about 6,000, and then your maintenance is another about 4,300, and then I got to calculate what your mortgage is.
But our maintenance is about 10,000 a month.
Yeah. Now, all of these things, just they're not automatic deductions. It's your choice whether you pay them. It's just that if you don't pay them, there are potential consequences.
Right. Okay, so 10,000 a month is about $300 a day.
300 credits.
Or 300, sorry.
$300 a day.
300 credits a day is our operating cost. So, and you said 5 days to get the fuel?
5 days to travel to the gas giant. Yeah, and then you'd have to travel 100 times the diameter of that out in order to make your jump.
Yeah, I think it's better to buy the fuel. I think our time is
Sounds
worth
right.
more. Our time is worth more than that.
Okay. So that's paper. I've taken that off your total. I'm just tracking it as well for myself, but I'm going to ask you guys to track it as well, so you guys know how much. Because what's going to happen is you'll get to a point where you're going to start looking through the trading chart and figuring out what shit you can, what's the most optimal stuff. So one other thing you can do before you head down to the low port is you can choose to try and see what other cargo is available. And the way we do that is automatically.
I like that idea.
Okay, so
that could take us up to 6 days, right?
To determine goods available takes you. Yeah, so you have to find a supplier first, which is a D6 days worth of time.
And we don't want to miss our appointment down on the ground, which we have to do within the week. Is that right?
There's no set time for it, not at all. When you guys arrive.
Other than Charlie's anxious
what was that?
To get there.
Yeah, whenever Amy has said that she's going to pay for a vacation for you guys, as well as when you get down there, you get down there.
Right.
Right.
Well,
so
yeah, let's look for some.
like if you spend a month up here, that may be pushing your luck with Amy. But I mean, like if you spend a few weeks up here, that's not gonna matter.
Right, like she might not even technically be here yet.
Well, she can't. She's gonna. The reason she's meeting you on Surface is because as systems administrator, she's responsible for like basically keeping a lot of the low port running, which means she can't get away from it. So she's really busy as it is. So when you guys get the time, she'll make the time, but otherwise, she's got plenty of shit to keep her occupied.
Okay, I see. She's working here, so
yeah.
Well, then do what you need to do within reason, Steve. I think.
So it would take, like Steve, like I said, it'll take you about 6 days to try and see what else is available here, what other cargo. Or you guys can just, keep that money in bank and then try and find any kind of gear that you may want to try and find.
Well, wait, we can leave our dude here to see, and me and you could go meet with Amy.
Yeah. Harv and is it Sindala? Sarala. Harv and Sarala are going to stay with the ship or stay in the high port. It's only you two guys who are heading down.
Right. So then that's fine. We can leave him to negotiate and see if there's other cargo to pick up, and we can go meet Amy. Because if it takes 6 days, I think Charlie's too anxious to go meet with Amy.
Okay.
To wait another week now that we're this close.
So now that you know, I guess now the pressure is off after a couple of days, and you've offloaded some stuff, you're comfortable leaving Harv to deal with the the nuances of the mercantile crap, and you're leaving Sarala to sort of watch the ship as
right.
is necessary. Okay, so what we'll do, let's make the checks for that and see what kind of cargo is available, and then we'll go do the trip to the surface. So, Steve, what I need, or someone to do, please, is to make a average broker check, and Harv has +2 from his skill and +1 from his social. Technically, Vargers don't have the social standing attribute. What they have is charisma instead. But that it's effectively the same thing, though. So, who'd like to make that roll? Oh, we lost Steve.
Yeah, he just typed on roll 20. He just said, "I'm here. Are you on roll 20?"
Oh, yeah, I'm not on roll 20. Let's see here. I'll invite him to call.
Something happened.
Oh. He mentioned something about his battery, so I wonder if he forgot to charge it or something. Or it was away from the charger long enough.
Oh, maybe. So my roll is 2d6 plus 3, right? Kev?
Your roll is 2d.
You said it was +2 and then +1, and
yes, 2d6 plus 3. That's right.
Yeah, okay.
I should.
Oh, you rolled really bad.
Oh no! What do you roll?
A 7.
7.
Oh, so close. So roll a d6 for me, please.
Yeah, it was a crappy roll. Too bad.
You got a 4 on the d6.
4 on the d6. Okay, so that takes us.
That's 1 week. Do we try again?
Well, no. Here's the thing. So if you try again, you can try again, but trying again within the same month takes a -1 dice modifier for each previous attempt on a planet in the same month. Harv does.
All we need to roll is a.
So you
That's right. I mean, all we need to roll is a 5. Yeah.
No, a 6 because you got a -1 now. It's your second attempt within a month.
Right. 6 total.
And, okay.
What do you think?
And, oh. Well, how long are we going to be down on the surface, I guess? Or
Who knows? Oh, you know what? I think I can tell you that let me just double check here. I want to make sure I've got the length of time correct. But Amy, she probably told you what the let's see here. No, wrong thing. There we go. The pay would be with the job, and
5,000, right?
how long? Yeah, it'll be 5,000 credits for the two of you, and it would take. Let's see here. 3 weeks.
Oh, so Harvey has time to try again.
Yeah.
It
So
doesn't hurt.
Because that thing we can do while we're doing other things, right? That job for
you left Harv up.
base.
Yeah, Harv's up in the high port trying to find something. The first week, we're now on March. By March 8th, Harv he can't find it seems like this is a buyer's market. So trying to find a second cargo find other cargo to take has been difficult so far. But you can try again though. It'll be -1. So what you need to roll is a 6 or higher if you want to try again. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, let's try it.
Tempting.
So it's 2d6 plus 3 again?
2d6 plus 2 now because of the -1 previous attempt.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. All right, here he goes. You got an 8.
Oh, nice. Okay, and roll a d6 for me. Let's see how long that took.
D6. 5.
5.
Hey, nice work.
Nice. So March 13th, you guys have found
Nice work.
Yeah, and I'm just marking down when you guys departed for the surface. Okay, so what Harv finds, guys, is there are two. If you look at the trading chart or the trade goods thing, there's two broad categories. There's common goods and there's trade goods. Common goods can be purchased on any world, so you will always find, as long as you find a supplier, you'll find electronics, industrial goods, common manufactured goods, raw materials, consumables, and ore. That shit you will always find. And we'll roll the random amounts that are available for those. What is interesting is we're also going to check trade goods. Trade goods can usually only be found on a world with a matching trade code. Let's see here. So a given supplier has all the common goods available, the trade goods that match the world's trade code. Now this is low industrial and low technology and no industrial. So there's not really much that specializes in shitty backwards world, right? Like, not surprisingly, there's not a lot of stuff that's available there. However, we will roll 1d6 to randomly determine goods. So let's see here, guys. There are 3 other goods rolled. So guys, what I need from you is basically roll 2d6, but don't add them together. Use the first one to give me the first number, and the second one, like as if you're rolling a percentile dice.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah. D6, then D6.
Yep. Jeff, you roll twice. Steve, you roll once, and I'll switch it afterwards. Let's see what other trade goods are available.
Okay, so I got 2 and 6.
So 66.
26 is a biochemicals.
All right.
So that'll be like biofuels or organic chemicals or extracts. What was yours, Steve?
Wow. 6 plus 2, 62.
Ooh. Illegal cybernetics?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we're already trying to offload some illegal stuff, so...
Pretty expensive.
This is what's for sale. This is stuff you can purchase. Your cargoes you can purchase. And what was the last result, Jeff?
Oh, 63.
63. Illegal drugs.
Yeah.
Illegal drugs. Nice.
Okay, so Illegal drugs. You know, I am going to roll. Some of these are actually fairly small cargoes. So illegal drugs is 5 tons worth, and the illegal cybernetics is 2
We can't
tons
really
worth.
afford.
Well, you multiply it by the amount of tons. So illegal cybernetics. Oh yeah, fuck. There's no way you can afford that cargo. Illegal drugs, even you can 100,000 per ton. That's a pretty sweet profit though, because remember you're going to roll to see how low you can get the sale price, and then when you sell it, you're going to roll to see how much you can make for it too. And for biochemicals, let's see here. There are 1d times 5, so it's 25 tons of biochemicals available. So there's all the normal goods, right, guys? All the common goods that I'll roll. If you want to purchase something like that, like a common consumable, you could buy like food or drink or agricultural products for about 500 a ton. That's anything between basically.
Well, that sounds...
So take a look on there, guys, and see if there's anything that sort of strikes your fancy. The cybernetics and the illegal drugs, I'm going to assume you are not purchasing because you don't have enough money for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Kev, what's our cash total right now? Like we had 10,000, and then we made 100.
We got 187,000. So 197,000
minus 2,000,
and we need 10 for the month.
You guys have 194,700 because you had to pay for your fuel.
Right.
Yeah. So about 194,000 credits.
And we need probably.
So we could buy 3
I think we should keep like
3 biochemicals.
Yeah, I think we should keep like a third of that at least for like operating money.
Yeah, if you can get the biochemicals are 50,000 a ton, so it's a pretty lucrative cargo. If you just want to fill
buy like a couple tons of it.
Yeah, and if you want to fill your hold again, like take a look at the costs of like common consumables, common raw materials, common manufactured goods. Some of those are pretty cheap. Like common consumables, if you don't want to spend a lot of money per ton, it's only 500 credits per ton. You're not going to make a lot of money off of that, but if you're just looking, like if you say you've got 34 tons of space available. If you wanted to say purchase, say 2 tons of biochemicals, that's 100,000 credits as a base price, and then we'll roll to see what the actual purchase price is. And then you could fill the rest of the hold up with like the other 32 tons up with something cheap.
Right. Common consumables or something.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? What are you guys thinking? What's Harv got his eye on?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's buy some pharmaceuticals.
The biochemicals, you mean?
Or sorry, biochemicals.
Okay, so let's roll to see what the purchase price is. So biochemicals have, let's see here. Plus any DMs from the purchase column, minus from the sale. Okay, let's see here. Oh, you know what, guys? I forgot. You still wouldn't have succeeded in the first one, but I forgot to apply the +2 because of the Class C starport.
Right.
The bigger the starport that you guys are in, the easier it'll be to find these kind of suppliers. There are no dice modifiers, so really it's just 3d6 plus 3 because of Harv's broker skill. Oh, you know what? You don't add his trait to it. It's just his broker, so it's 3d6 plus 2. Let's see what the purchase price is.
Okay. Roll.
Oh, baby.
9.
9. Okay.
Yeah, not bad.
So
that's not bad.
The purchase price would be 95% of the regular price. So at 100,000 for 2 tons, that works out to 95,000. 95,000 credits to purchase 2 tons.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
All right.
So then that leaves us with 99,700.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to track what's in your hold here as well, so I can. The hold has 30 tons. nuclear weapons.
Hey, you only rolled 2d6, not 3d6.
It's supposed to be 3d6?
3d6, yeah.
Oh,
Just roll one more d6, and then you rolled what, a 9?
Oh, sorry, yeah, it's a 14 is his total.
70%.
70%, nice. So it costs you 70,000 credits.
Oh, so we got another 25 back.
Yep.
Nice.
So we're at 124.
Nice roll.
Oh,
that's great. Okay. So what else? You guys still have space for 32 tons of cargo. Anything you guys want to pick up? There still is.
Yeah, we could just fill it up with maybe some common stuff again. Where did you say the common list was, Kev?
Right at the top there. Anything that has a 1 in front of it. So common electronics, common industrial goods, common manufactured goods.
Where are we going? Let's think. Where are we going next? And let's try to get some of the sale bonuses. Where's our next stop?
I missed the page.
Okay, so the sale bonus, common industrial goods would have because non-industrial is a dice modifier for sale, that would give you -3 to the purchase price. So basically, when you're buying stuff, the sale dice modifiers are negatives and the purchase stuff is positives. So because you're on a non-industrial low-tech place, that means you've got -3 for common electronics, you got -3 for industrial goods, you got -3 for manufactured goods. Common raw materials are no dice modifier, and consumables no dice modifier, and common ore would be a -1.
Hey Jeff.
Yeah.
Maybe we should figure out where our next job is taking us, so we can figure out what our likelihood of selling is when we get to our next port of call. What do you think?
That is entirely up to you guys.
Well, we want to try and go to a red planet or somewhere a little dangerous and try to sell this darn, nuclear weapons. But I think we want to travel as few systems as we need to with this nuclear weapons, because
all I'm saying is we can still pick up these common goods, no problem. But maybe we should go to the surface and figure out where we have to go for our next job and see what kind of a planet that is, and that'll tell us, maybe what kind of good.
Can I point out something? Now, between now and the next session, I'm going to send you the sector map so you can have the full sector. If you look on now, for the core book, Jeff, it's page 232, and for Steve, for the it'll be in book 2. I'm looking at the map for the Sindel subsector.
Yep.
Do you have that in book 2? I've got. Let's see here. It'll be.
Yeah. What page is that?
Just checking here. It's not in here. Oh,
see what I'm saying, Jeff?
Maybe it's. Hold on. Maybe it's actually.
What do you say?
What I'm saying is, let's find out where we have to go for our job for Sindel, and then let's find out what goods would be good to sell there.
Right. Okay.
What do you mean for? There's no such. There isn't a planet called Sindel. This is called this Sindel subsector because of the Sindalan Empire that was based out of Noricum.
Sorry, I meant our helper, our employee, the job she's getting us.
Here, guys. This thing. So, Steve, unfortunately, it doesn't look like this is actually in the base book. This is the subsector map. Let me just get into focus here. Okay, so here we go.
One of our books.
So here's where you guys are right now. You guys are at Marduk, which is right there. Now, one place you can see how there is green around each of the edges here.
Yep.
That means it's a green sector, so it's relatively safe. See the amber around Thieves?
Right.
That means it's an amber sector. You would have, I believe, a +8 dice modifier to sell nuclear weapons there.
Wow.
Trouble is,
so the trick is we can't jump there.
Well, you can. When I send you the sector map, you will see that there's basically, to get there, you have to sort of skirt your way around and sort of hop, skip, and a jump to try and get there.
Okay.
Right.
But here's one of the downsides, guys. Thieves is basically the pirate planet where Captain Williams used to live. That's the place where Admiral Derrican said, "Get out and don't come back." So
Okay.
it doesn't mean he's automatically going to know that you're there. But if you're caught there, I can't imagine things would go well.
Nice.
Right.
Wear a
And what I'll
mask.
do, too, guys, is when between now and the next session, too, I'll also send this subsector map, and I will send you the I guess like each of your books, the core book and the and book 2 tells you how to read those the what do you call it, the system codes. That'll tell you what tech levels, what law levels, stuff like that. And I'm going to send you a book that has for the basically the entire Trojan region subsector. It will give you the codes, like the trade codes for every single fucking planet in there. So you guys will be completely wide open, free to figure out where you want to go to try and offload these weapons.
Okay. Cool.
So anyway, getting back to the cargo available, is there any other more common cargo that you want to purchase, or do you want to sort of wait till you plan where your next destination is going to be?
I mean, we can just come right back up to the space station after we find out where we're going.
Yeah.
But
Well, the task that Amy has suggested that she's got for you, it's not taking you anywhere. It's going to be on Marduk for 3 weeks.
oh, okay. Well then, in that case, we should take a look at the map and see where, because we have to go past those green planets.
Yeah, like basically what you're going to have to do is sort of work your way out of this subsector back along the Sindalan main trade route, and then sort of up. Let me see if I can show you on the sector map. Let's see here.
Yeah, we can stop at one of those planets, and if they're industrial or something, then we can get some industrial goods.
So here, this is the subsector map, guys. What you're right around here at Marduk.
Right.
What you'd have to do is jump down, so to Torpol, and then sort of from there to Blue, Ansir, Pandora.
Are we going past an industrial planet?
Oh, let's see here. How the fuck do you get up to there? Jesus. In a jump 2 ship? To get to Thebe is going to be really tricky. I actually think you can't get there in a jump 2. You need something that's more powerful.
But you said we could. Okay. You said we could jump more than our jump capability. It just we have to sit. No. Okay, you can't.
Jump 2 is what you're limited to with the Far Trader. Now there are other ships that have longer jump ranges,
right.
But you don't happen to have one right now.
Okay.
So, but I mean, like, what you could do is, I mean, you could hire on to another ship and try and do that.
Are we passing an industrial? Yeah, we could do that. Are we passing by an industrial planet throughout those planets?
Depends where you're going next.
There are industrial planets, though.
So from Marduk, there's Thebes and Noricum. Let's see what the codes are for that. Noricum is, I think, Noricum's been blasted to shit. Like it was the capital of the Sindal Empire, and when it fell fucking hard because they just basically razed that planet to the to ashes. Thebes is poor. It's non-industrial and is low tech. So Thebes is not a great place to go. What about number 1? Number one has got fluid oceans. That's not helpful. Thebe might be, well, Thebe you can't get to. That's the problem, I guess. How about Salif? Salif is poor, non-agricultural, and low tech, or low population, I should say. Where's industrial?
Are we in an asteroid system right now?
No. Okay, so the subsector that you are in is not a particularly lucrative place. But you are also, like I said, what I'll do is, maybe what I'll do is we'll do the trip down to the surface. Actually, we're at quit time anyway. If we want, excuse me, do you guys mind if we go like 15 minutes extra?
No,
Sure.
Okay, so let's we'll do that. What I'll do is
Sure.
I'll send you the subsector map, and I'll send you the guide to sort of the sector in general, so you can sort of plan out where you want to go next. Because that way you can know what's on each of those places, and what you're going to want to refer to figure out what whether there's an asteroid or industrial or whatever is the world profiles, those things that we were looking at.
Right.
Because I'll tell you what each of them. Like I know that Marduk has low population and is non-industrial because that's what's coded for them. So there is actually, you know what, Steve? There is a place called Tech World that is about 3 jumps away from where you guys are. That place is crazy high tech and it's industrial.
Okay. Cool.
So that would be it's rimward. It's like rimward and then trailing, excuse me, one subsector over.
Okay.
I think it's in the Borderlands subsector, so we can plan that. So yeah, so we'll leave Harv there. So Harv purchased you 2 tons of biochemical cargo, leaving you at 124,700. Okay. All right. But you guys departed on March 4th. So the shuttle that leads Highport to the surface is, not surprisingly, like many other things in Marduk Highport, is a service offered by GDCO. You find out that the trip from from Highport down to the surface is going to take about 2.5 to 3 hours, and then the return trip is about 25% longer than that. But it is it's a pretty standard thing. The ship that you're taking, or the shuttle you're taking down, is looks like this. Get the camera to focus. Come on, focus camera.
Drop ship.
Yeah, effectively, it's something that cannot. It doesn't have any jump capability. This is what the interior looks like, guys. So tons and tons and tons of seats, all of which are equipped with, the sort of like 5-point safety harness kind of thing. There's a dock sealed or airlock sealed cabin at the front for the flight crew. And then at the back, there is a common area that has like snacks and refreshments and stuff like that on board. So you guys get into the shuttle, and again, you have to pass through another round of like MART or Highport customs to make sure you're not bringing any weapons or whatever else down. And it sounds like you're not trying to sneak anything past anybody. So you guys get your stuff, get your armor on, you get your the blades, static blades, your Steve, you got your body pistol on you, and you sit down. The you see, so the ship, or the shuttle, I should say, is actually not is really not that full. You guys get on board, and I'm assuming the two of you are going to sit together, and you see that in sort of the in the time, I think you guys get on first, and you're able to see everyone else go on board. Now, the other people go on board is you see a Vargur who is dressed in basically a business suit. So he looks like this here. There he is.
Cool.
He carries himself with kind of a distinguished air, and he's got a briefcase with him, and he seems to be chatting as he gets onto the shuttle. He's chatting to someone on a comlink. You then see a slightly overweight man of middle age, dressed in brown slacks and a light blue shirt that doesn't quite go with the trousers. He's a bit of a schlub. He gets on and takes a seat not far away from you guys. That's what this gentleman looks like. There is then a woman who gets on carrying a backpack that's secured to her back. She looks like this. Where is she? There you go. She's younger. And then there are 3 more passengers who get on. And there's my camera. One of them is stands out, and the other 2 are sort of flanking her. I don't have a picture of her right now, but I will by next session. She is stunning. She's late 20s. She has dark hair that's up in a very fashionable manner. She has dark eyes, and she walks with a very entitled air. This is she's dressed incredibly well, like very both fashionable and expensive. She's flanked by 2 guys who seem to be very like if it was not for the restrictions on weapons on board, you guess that these 2 guys would be wearing fairly heavy armor and carrying fairly big, scary guns, because they look like, you know, giant chiseled, soldiers, I guess, or like mountain, you know, impressive specimens of mankind. You've seen the like in the service, Steve. These guys they have the arrogant sort of, you know, walk and the glare that comes with infantry or like marine service. And the way these guys walk is flanking her in a very organized fashion, so you think that they are probably bodyguards of some kind. Although the matching uniforms suggest that they're probably of some kind of governmental authority as well. Each of them has strapped to their hip a very visible and very expensive laser pistol. The 3 of them get in, and she, you know, very briefly makes eye contact with you guys, and then looks away completely unimpressed and takes a seat very, very far away. So it is the cabin itself is actually pretty, or there's plenty of room to find your own spots and strap in, and then the shuttle lets off. There's a usual sort of onboard announcements from the cabin where they tell you it's going to be 2 hours until, you know, 2.5 hours until ground service, but the flight should be relatively comfortable. You have to keep your belt on while it you know, first hits atmo, but after that you're free to move around and enjoy the refreshments or relax in the common area. So about 2 hours pass. Like the trip itself is pretty easy. I mean, it's pretty comfortable. What do you think you guys would be doing during this? Like, I'm not sure either of you guys are like big readers, or if you're just taking in some like vids you've downloaded, or have you gone to the common area to maybe play cards or like relax or just get some food?
Trying to flirt with that girl.
Okay, so why don't you let's see here. Give me a carouse check, please.
Carousing.
Your social dice modifier. I'm not sure if you've got any training in carousing.
No training in carousing.
Okay, which means you get a -3 dice modifier.
All right. 2d6 minus 3.
Yeah,
I've only got a 6 in social, so that's just nothing.
Okay.
And plow, that's a 1. All right. What's up, baby?
Oh my god. So that's like a -7 effect. So I think that what happens, so describe for me the clumsiest approach you can imagine that Gavros takes to this young woman who's probably about like at least a decade younger than you.
Hey there, you look like you're from around these parts. Where's the guy got to go to have a good time?
Okay, so you're about to put your arm around her as well, and he sort of took the bodyguards by surprise, and that's when one of them just shoves you up against a bulkhead. Make sure you can actually do this. Oh yeah, shoves you up against a bulkhead, and is like it's to the point where it's a little painful. He pulls out a laser pistol and like pushes it roughly against your forehead to the point where like you're right up against the back of the wall. And he says in a kind of strangely accented Galanglic, you will not touch the royal personage.
Royal. Oh my goodness, my mistake.
And the woman, who is really not impressed or charmed or anything by your efforts, she says, sorry, hold on, I wrote these names down beforehand. How can I put it? Here we go. She's kind of glares at you and says, "Anin is not worth it." And she leans in towards you and stares at you with these really beautiful but very fucking fierce, like cold, like a glacier stare. And she says, "You will leave me alone. Speak not to me again." And you're still sort of being held there. Jeff, I think you probably see this going on. You maybe, you walked over to, we're in the common area, and you walked over to the vendor to see what kind of, what sort of snacks are in there. And then you hear this sort of like kerfuffle behind you. You turn around and see this giant mountain, muscled mountain with a laser pistol pressed up against his forehead.
I'll walk over and I'll say to her, I am truly sorry. My friend has no idea when a woman is far out of his league.
Okay. Why don't you give me a diplomat check, which you are trained in. There we go.
Nice. Skills. Can I just click it? Does it work?
I don't know. I didn't think to actually open Roll20.
Oh, do I have a modifier?
Well, it's the skill level of 1, but no attribute modifier.
Oh. I don't understand how this works. 2d6. No.
It'll be 2d6 plus 1 is what your roll should be.
For some reason, but it says that I roll. That doesn't seem right because 2d6 plus.
2d6 plus 1.
Yeah, I'm just gonna roll 2d6 plus 1.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not sure if that works.
Sorry, I should have actually logged in and rolled 20. I'll do that for next week. Now, between now and
I got a 9.
A 9, okay. So 9 is slightly better than average. So you haven't quite undone the damage that what's his name? That Miltiades caused, because like a -7 result is really fucking bad. But the Anin, the big guy who's got him secured, sort of finally looks back at the princess, and she sort of nods, and he brings his hand, it releases you, still keeping the laser pistol trained on you. And she says, and she was told, he says to you two, find your seats and do not leave them.
Alrighty.
Alrighty.
So you guys are making your way back to, you're just leaving the sort of common area.
I give Miltiades sort of like this punch on the shoulder as we're walking away.
Oh my God! Sorry. What?
While so almost like immediately after you leave the common area, suddenly there's this going off in the shuttle, and you're looking around, and your immediate thought is, did she trigger a security alarm? But then the shuttle just suddenly pitches into a steep dive, and I need you guys to each make an athletics dexterity check. So athletics check, and you can add your dexterity dice modifier.
Not good for me.
Dexterity. So.
Oh, I do have athletics. Nice. No dexterity. Okay.
Miltiades, your dexterity is no dice modifier, and Charles got +1.
So that means I roll 3d6 and add my skill level.
No, 2d6.
See,
What's the +1 do?
Remember, all dice stuff is always 2, not 3.
Oh.
Nice.
Yeah, 2d6 plus your dice modifier plus if you're trained.
Oh, I see. Oh, that okay, yeah. So it's
you guys have
2d6 plus 1.
Yeah.
Holy shit! I got a 4.
Uh-oh.
I got a 9.
A 9. Okay. So then what happens is, Miltiades, you're able to, even though this thing lurches, this is not the first time you've been in a fucking crashing, whatever ship. So you're able to quickly jump forward and steady yourself. It's been a while for you, Charles, and you're pitched forward, and you clark your ribs right up against one of the chairs, and you take 2 points of damage. Now, the way damage works in this, guys, is first it's subtracted from your endurance, and then it applies to either your strength or your dexterity.
Yeah.
So
okay,
that means your endurance is down to a 3.
Wow,
Charles, which I think.
So I just set my temporary.
Yeah, just temporary. And a 3 is still only a -1, so that's not. You're not incapacitated or anything like that. Okay, so you hit, and so Steve, you've actually managed to get yourself in, and you immediately put yourself down in a seat, and then clip yourself in because you know what's coming. So this thing keeps like and rattling around. Jeff, I need you to make another athletics check to try and get yourself secured in. Miltiades, I imagine you yell out, "Get yourself down!"
Yes.
And you can see the other passengers are sort of similarly being, jostled around by this thing. It's incredibly rough. So, Jeff, give me another
dexterity roll.
Athletics dexterity.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So it'll be 2d6 plus 1. 9. Oh, so close. You're just about able to get yourself in, and then it hits another pocket, and you clark your face. You take another point of damage. Your end is down to a 2 now. -2 dice modifier now. Okay, so you want to try again?
I guess so. Oh, I'm gonna die. That's a 6.
A 6. Ooh,
well, a 10 is hard to roll.
So you hit again, and then wham, again, another point of damage. Your endurance is down to a 1 now. Go ahead and make another check.
Nice.
So you get yourself in a seat here.
Put your belt on. Oh, look at that.
Oh, a 10.
Nice. So you finally managed to get yourself, clip yourself. You are bruised and battered, and in spite of being jostled around and the panic of what's going on, you still you're able to manage to get yourself. You still feel the pain, I should say, of that being battered around.
Miltiades laughs at him.
Then you hear sort of like the internal speakers of the shuttle spring to life, and you hear starport under attack, many ships, maybe from Ogma, strap in, we'll get you down safe. And then after that, it jerks to the side, and then you hear it comes back on again, and the more urgent sound from the captain or the pilot is strap in now, missile alert. And then it suddenly jerks to the side. Now, you guys are both familiar. Well, Steve, you're in particular familiar enough with missiles and the kind of damage that can be done. This size of ship getting hit with a missile is extremely bad news.
All right.
So this thing wrenches to the side, and then you hear a this whoomp from outside, and your eyes kind of go big, and you know that they just missed a detonation of a missile. And then again, it sort of rocks to the side again, and then jerks, and you hear boom, another explosion of a missile, barely much closer this time. And then you hear this thing jerks it once more to the side. You look outside the window, and there's just ocean streaming by. Water, 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 water. If you guys go down, you're going down in the middle of an ocean. So what do if anything do you guys want to do?
I'm guessing this thing has no weapons or anything that's to do.
No.
It's like a shuttle. I don't know if there's anything for us to do.
No, I go throw myself on the princess to protect her.
Brace for impact, I guess.
You can see that she and her two bodyguards have managed to secure herself into one of the seats as well too. They got her in, and then this is still jerking back and forth and back and forth, and then suddenly there is a much louder explosion, and the whole shuttle kind of rattles to the side. You hear a whistling sound, and you hear a gasp from the princess, and you spare a look over, and one of her bodyguards, his face is a bloodied mess right now. Some fragment, you've seen this before, Steve or Miltiades, when fragments come through ships like this, they travel at such an accelerated rate that it's like, you know, a bulldozer going through a dandelion. His face is completely ruined. However, as the ship sort of is sort of rattling along, it seems to have come to a bit more of a steady decline. You look outside, and it's descending steadily, slowly, but it's descending towards the surface. And again, water, 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 water. What do you guys want to do?
Oh man, sit it out. There's not much we can do. What do I do? Go talk to the pilot?
No, don't get out of your seat.
Yeah.
So you're sitting there, sort of
brace for impact, I guess.
You're sort of waiting for the inevitable here. It's rattling along, and then thankfully you see, for a moment, you're grateful because you see land. You're now descending over land, and then you realize that this means you're crashing into land.
Yeah.
So that's now you guys both have your personal comms on you too, if you want to try to figure out what the fuck is going on.
I suppose so. Yeah, put the word out to our companions. They're not with us, are they?
No, they're up on the high port. Harv is trying to find sails, and Sarala is kind of like keeping an eye on the ship and doing her own thing. So if you do pull it out, it's the con channels are swamped, and there's just like, it's garbled bullshit. It's clearly something is under attack up there. Right. You would guess something from Ogma, or maybe from one of the other pirate fleets that sort of bedevil what do you call it? Bedevil the Trojan reaches. So the shuttle still seems to be, somewhat under control as it's going down. It's definitely going down. Steve, you have been in something like this before. This is a ship that's destined to hit the ground, and you're, for a bunch of like second-rate cargo shuttle pilots, you're really impressed with the job they've done of not getting yourself blown up and trying to like actually steer this thing into a semi-safe landing. But unfortunately, your admiration sort of is immediately gone, or disturbed, I should say, by you're suddenly on the surface. Like it's that moment of touchdown where this thing crunches into the ground. You can hear a horrible, sickening squeal of plasteel and metal and ceramics from near the front of the ship. You're all thrown violently forward in your seats, and the lights all sort of go out in the ship, and you're rattling along. The emergency lights come on, and you can see outside that you're on the surface, and kind of rattling to a stop. It seems like this thing travels along the ground, grinding against the surface for forever before it suddenly comes to a stop. And suddenly there's this sickening, apart from the panic of that sort of pudgy guy who's, or I shouldn't say that, he's actually pretty well composed. So is the young woman. The Varger in the suit seem to be fairly composed as well too. And the princess and her remaining bodyguard are a little upset, to say the least. The last thing that happens before the lights go out altogether is that the door on the side of the shuttle is expelled into the atmosphere outside, and the lights sort of like flicker, and then are out. And I think with you guys looking around at the darkened interior and looking out at the surface, barren and blasted surface of Marduk, where the sun appears to be going down, we will leave this session and we'll pick up again in 2 weeks' time. So, for those listening at home, thank you so much for joining us for session 1 of the Pirates of Drinax campaign. This was a little bit rocky, but I mean, I think it's us learning this system as well. So you will be learning along with us as we fumble our way through this campaign. So we will be back playing this again in 2 weeks' time. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding the session tonight, please do not hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section below, and I will endeavor to reply in a timely fashion. Otherwise, thank you again for joining us. We greatly appreciate you joining us on this interstellar journey, and we'll see you again soon.